With a combined fleet of fresh human ships, sentient heavy hitters, as in all their available cruisers, battleships, and the few dreadnoughts they have, flying in the same formation as insectoid hive ships and other insectoid fighting craft, make this look like a strange amalgamation of species indeed. All of them on the way to meet with a species that was so desperate for survival they actually attacked their potential allies. And to do so, to meet them at the edge, to meet them at the front lines, it's going to be a long trip. Though they entered the edge of Fermian territory immediately, it will take a long time to cross over their entire territory to get to the actual action. Life around the battle group is fairly boring. Most humans spend much of their time, or as much as they can, in the simulators or in the gym. Competitions for sports are still fairly common as well, as people are dying for anything to stop their boredom. Yet most simply train to keep their bodies and, in effect, their minds sharp and ready for what's to come. Whenever a sentient joins the human for a session in the gym, they're always astounded at the human's power, flexibility, and of course their endurance. And of course this also impresses the way they look. The fit and muscular human body has become something other species have actually come to admire. Because of this, there have been instances where some species cannot stop themselves from reaching out and making physical contact with these strong humans. Most find out very quickly that caressing a human unannounced is a very, very bad idea, especially since most of these really fit humans are actually part of the Terran fighting force known as grunts. These humans are trained primarily for one thing: to kill, period, and they are the best. Even though simply touching one may grant you a simple kinetic impact on your face, unannounced caressing or inspection of a human female will grant you multiple impacts by multiple males in the vicinity, and maybe some even later. That is, if the female does not strike first and continue to strike until someone just stops moving. Sentients take lessons from humans in different styles of combat, yet they much prefer to simply watch as humans demonstrate such combat styles on each other. They do not speak of it, but the winner of the competition usually has the pick of sentient females in the group, as they find the combat much more than interesting. Though in this respect they do have competition. The insectoids are always interested in fresh genetic material. The more physically fit the human, the more desire for their material. Yet even as they travel to the front and getting unlimited access to the material they desire, the insectoids still can't understand why human males insist on making insectoids, as they say, work for it. It is difficult enough to get used to wearing clothing when not on their own ships. But why are human males not like an insectoid drones? 3 pumps and done, and the drones get what they want. Humans insist on a much, much longer time. Also, the tertiary queens cannot understand why so many insectoids suddenly break away from the hive mind as they're collecting materials. The subqueens of the hive ships just don't get it. Though one would think that the command would want to stop such things from happening, this is all used to actually keep morale up and the crew satiated during the travel, and it worked quite well. The fleet is in ready status and the crews are fairly contented at this point. That is, until 7 human days away from contact. The command had restricted the humans to their own ships and did not allow any others to join the humans aboard said ships. When asked why, the command laid out part of the quote-unquote human condition. They mentioned how, thanks to human biology, after 7 days without any type of intimate contact or stimulation, Human males have a massive spike of testosterone in their bodies. If timed correctly, this spike will make the humans even more aggressive and more effective on the battlefield. Realizing that the human command had made an incontestable point, a few worried about after the battle. They did ask this, and the commander could not actually hide his grin as he said, "Afterwards, you can have each other. Fair warning, they might break you in half at that point. Yet, don't worry, both halves will be smiling." True to his word, 7 human days later, they arrive in a currently contested set of systems. In the most active system, a paradise world known as Shangri-La 4, the techies were already on the final stages of the attack. That would be a planetary invasion. It is noted that there are Fermian vessels, but only a few of them that still remain in the sector, but they're only able to take a few shots at the techie ships. The incoming fleet could see how the hull of the techie ships was actually bioorganic technology, not only able to regenerate, but in some strange way, it reflected energy beams off the hull. This made the commander hesitate for a moment, yet reports began spewing in. Reports of the destruction of fleeing ships from the planet, the slaughter of civilians on the ground, the destruction of the planet's ecosystem, which got him ready to fight. But as soon as they saw a video of what was happening to the children, the commander simply slammed his hand down on the helm's button and said, "Full speed ahead. Everyone get in formation. Target the largest ships first. All ships, weapons free, and contact the Fermians. Tell them to get the hell out of our way. We're coming through." The fleet fired everything they had that could reach the enemy fleet. Just under 50% of the enemy beams were actually reflected away. The rest burned, cut, and perforated their targets. The huge techie fleet realized the danger as several of their ships exploded. Then they turned to face the human fleet. As they did, energy beams continued to cut into their forces. Surprisingly, less and less of the human energy weapon strikes were getting through. The techie ships are actually adapting their hulls to reflect the beams, hardening certain sectors to face the human ships. On the flanks of the human ships, sentient and insectoid ships waited to get closer as their weapons lacked the range of human energy weapons. Once in range, though, they will be able to open up as well, but the techies continued to adapt to the fire. It looks like the techies will be completely unaffected by the coalition weapons very, very soon, but they have no idea who they're facing. This is humanity, and humanity's always got another card to play. Once in effective range, humanity's ships utilized their other weapons. Hundreds of mass drivers fired simultaneously, followed by the missiles and then torpedoes. The drone swarms launched and combined around the area to create so much noise in the void that even human sensors were being heavily affected. The techies began firing their own weapons, but quickly realized that the humans do not like being struck. Evasive maneuvers from the human fleet are quick, sometimes violent, but effective at letting the enemy ship's shots just pass by, touching nothing. The techies' fleet realized far too late that this new threat is not to be trifled with. Not only were the ballistic shots aimed perfectly, but the missiles perforated the hulls of any ships regardless of size and speed. Not only were the torpedoes nearly impossible to stop because of the countermeasures already built into them, but when they hit, they forcefully inserted themselves into a ship's belly, blowing it up from the inside with such force that every exterior hatch and door burst open, sending debris and personnel into space. That is, if the ship didn't just simply explode. The techie fleet got torn apart in volley after volley as though there was no limit to the ammunition. Yet, this is not what frightened the techies the most. It was the fact that as soon as they fired on a large human ship, cruiser class or higher, with their main energy weapons, The human ship would simply cease fire immediately and activate a shield that would also reflect the energy weapons elsewhere. Realizing that they're totally screwed at this point because they can't even get shots on target, the remaining techies jump out as fast as they can, under fire the entire way. The combined fleet wasted absolutely no time trying to save any of the survivors of the battle. Many are currently stuck in the hulls of their ships, drifting into space, running off just very limited power, just enough to keep them breathing, but maybe not for long, so they rush. As that is going on, the fleet prepares for planetfall. The large ship that humans brought is about to show its worth. In conjunction with other ships, the humans sent waves of pods, shuttles, drones down towards the planet. The sentients looked on with amazement. How efficient! How reckless! Perhaps they should feel bad for those on the surface. Nah. The invasion carrier dropped so many pods, shuttles, drones, decoys, and everything else, most speculated that its total mass has been cut by half at least. Not wanting humans to get all the fun, sentients and insectoids join the humans, although they quickly discover that human shuttle pilots are just as insane as those that are going down in tiny little coffins. The sentient species and insectoids join their own shuttles with the humans on the way down, yet it's clear that the human shuttles easily outpace their own by twice the speed or more. It seems as though they let their entire ship get grabbed by the gravity well and then push even harder. By the time the coalition forces even land, humans have already finished Phase 1, which was the actual landing, and we're just about to finish Phase 2, which is clearing out the area they landed in. Once again, they're grateful that humanity was actually pointing their weapons somewhere else. The sentients and insectoids, of course, joined the battle as fast as they could, many of them completely out of breath by the time they got there. But what they saw amazed them. They saw a human grabbing the gelatinous form of a techie and just ripping it in half, seemingly with his bare hands, although he is wearing an exosuit. They saw another human take up their pulse weapon and fire it into a techie who was shooting at them at point-blank range, and nothing was happening. It seems as though the techie had figured out how to change its body to reflect all this away. As it was inefficient, all this human did was simply drop the pulse weapon, pick up their ballistic weapon, and fired. Seeing this, the techie exploded due to sheer concussive force. All they saw was the human turn, move its front hand back and forth, ejecting something from the weapon, seemingly almost turning its head a little bit as though it's grinning under that helmet and continuing. Then, of course, there was the fact that humans still love fire. They would draw those handheld plasma throwers, aiming at a techie and firing, forcing the flames all over, and the gelatinous mass screams as it seems to melt right there, turning into, well, at least what it looks like, a puddle of urine. Due to the grunts on the ground and all the support they had, the coalition forces had very little fighting to actually do, as Phase 2 was almost over, but Phase 3 was about to begin. When that happened, the shuttles of Corvette class and better began to land and set up medical facilities, food and water distribution, and even started setting up temporary housing, as many of the buildings were either partially or totally destroyed. The Fermians were frightened at first, which was to be expected. They were getting their butts kicked before. Now someone even meaner came in and didn't just kick butts, they slaughtered them all. Yet the human soldiers realized what was going on, saw the fear, and simply exposed their heads, and this seemed to calm the populace. The insectoids did the same thing to a point as far as calming, as most of them do have human characteristics. The sentients, not so much. Pulling off their helmets and exposing the face of a reptile, a canine, feline, or amphibian seemed to shock the Fermians even more. Yet things did calm down quickly as the shooting wasn't happening anymore. All sectors that the Liberation Battle Group struck at a similar time all had similar outcomes. The rest had far less of the techies to face, so they actually had a much easier time. As the commands of each fleet sat down to discuss the next part of the operation, the tertiary queen that had gone through another one of her metamorphoses, making her look like a 15-foot tall MILF, said something that made all the sentients laugh out loud as the humans looked in confusion. She said, "With such one-sided success, I cannot help but wonder how long until a message is sent to the Fermians about surrender. Of course, that will not happen until the military might of our forces makes them beg for mercy, saying, 'Sorry, but please, call off the humans.'" Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on Part 9 of this ongoing series. Now, before I go, I need to say that today's winner is Julius Boone, and I also need to send out some very big thank yous to the supporters of this channel. Those are Sir Prozac and Pancakes, Brian Kemp, Erica Gem, SS Demon, MTF Guard, Guardian Sage, Joseph Blush, Julius Boone, and Douglas Scarborough. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax.
Ejecting pilot.